It's like we have like lightweight ADHD between Christine and I.
Let's do it. We're starting. Say it. Say the things.
Welcome everybody to the Get Reelisms podcast, episode 78. I am Adam Chase Rani.
And I am Christine Chen. And this is
Zoe Graham.
Yay! Sorry,
Zoe Graham.
Sorry,
I was format. I didn't know if I was supposed to talk.
I know. That was my fault.
Co-host.
No, it's my because Christine was just like ready to fucking rock. I was ready to just go, and my ADHD just completely disregarded the instructions I was supposed to give you. So I apologize. I'm so sorry.
Let's do it again,
ladies and gentlemen. In episode 78 of the Get Reelisms podcast, I am Adam Chase Rani.
And I am Christine Chen, and we have a guest.
I'm Zoe Graham, and I play Faye in the movie.
Yay, Zoe! We did it.
Fuck yeah, everybody. Welcome, Zoe. Thank you so much.
This is Zoe's first time. First time on podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Is this your first time on a podcast?
It's not
Probably
my first time on a podcast, but it is my first time on this podcast.
The Get Reelisms podcast.
On the Get Reelisms podcast.
Correct. Yes. We've been interviewing our lead actresses in the film ERZULIE because it's coming out very, very soon. So last week we talked with Layla Anastasia Scott, who played ERZULIE. This week, Zoe, who plays Faye. And then... is it Elizabeth first or Diana after that? I can't remember.
It is going to be Diana.
And then Diana Rose.
Diana and Courtney, and then Elizabeth.
Okay. Yes. So, go ahead.
Elizabeth is the only one who's been on, right?
Yes.
She's been,
Cool.
Diana... oh yeah, I guess Diana hasn't been on it either.
No, I guess not.
Both of you guys just went.
Yeah, we're like, wait a minute.
Well, I could have sworn Diana was.
She's seen it
mind.
Multiple times, and I think she's like accidentally.
She's just an active participant. Oh my gosh, and we just never had her as. We're just like, she was a guest.
So, so we're going to be talking about ERZULIE and why people should be excited about ERZULIE. And this is kind of fun. It's been like a verbal diary, basically journal of the whole process. And this is our first time really having chatted about what has happened. So now that you've had time to process and forget about the entire experience, how was getting the role? How was seeing the role? Like, how did you get involved, etc., etc.?
Sure. Well, you guys know this, but for anyone else who's listening and doesn't know the process of how I got involved, there was another actress cast as Faye, and it didn't end up working out. And I had never heard of the project before. And, kind of out of nowhere, through a connection through Diana, who plays Ari, she reached out to me. I taped for y'all. We talked about it a little bit, and then we did a full cast read, and that's how I got involved. And it was all kind of fast. It happened really fast in comparison to the way that everyone else was cast.
So because everybody else had been casted like a month ago pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, all right, we're ready to go film. And what, you're not doing this film? Other actors that got casted, and then we're like, shit. It's only one of our most important characters. And so and actually, you know what's so cool about it is that Elizabeth, you and I had already met way before. And it was Diana that suggested, and I'm like, holy shit, why didn't I even think about, because I remember the party, it was for Scare Package or someone with one of Aaron Kuntz films.
Party for the first Scare
Package. It was this for Scare Package.
We hadn't seen anything yet. It was just like the last day of filming.
Yeah. And I had just watched Boyhood, and So I'm at the party and I'm like, Elizabeth, is that? I was so fangirling. You didn't even know. I was like, I hope she's nice. Yeah.
So funny. My boyfriend is he's texting me saying, "You are the cause of the echo." He's watching us right now. He's like giving me live tech. So if you see me typing, it's me trying to fix my horrible audio.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. So funny.
I hear you fine, but I mean,
you're saying that there's an echo on the live stream? Sound off in the comments.
On Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear through Facebook, but I'm not listening to Instagram. So
it might be a little bit. That's okay.
Maybe. Okay. But honestly,
you know why it's echoing is because we all have earbuds.
Oh, I can have that.
Yeah, and so it's probably playing and then playing onto the Instagram live.
While Zoe deals with that, let me tell you the audience a little bit something right now. When there are audio issues, just remember, ladies and gentlemen, and this goes for you too, Facebook, but we love you, Facebook. This is with peace and love, and this is coming from Adam Chase Rennie. With peace and love, understand that this is a free podcast. Jeff Keen, Bad Echo, when Christine and Adam talk. I understand that, Jeff, but understand also.
He's my boyfriend. He's not trying to talk shit. He's trying
it's okay. It's okay. Every single week, there's always going to be somebody who will have a gripe with the audio issue, and that's totally fine.
He's just letting us know, but I know why. It's because Zoe's not listening through the earbuds.
But I have a point with this. It's a free podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's a free podcast. All you have to do is just not worry about the echo. That's all you have to do. You just have to listen around the echo. How many by the way, Mark Maron, so many like Joe Rogan, so many people have started with the like fucking toilet water audio that is absolutely. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to compare us to those podcasts, but just understand, ladies and gentlemen, that
did that improve though? Jeff, did that improve on IG? By any chance? Because I think that's what was happening.
Am I still echoing like crazy?
Because I think
that's been the Get Reelisms podcast, you know.
But I'm pretty sure that's why, though.
Better?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so too. Are we getting anybody in the chat? Say spam 1 in the chat.
Is that better, Jeff? I hope it's better. Well, let's just.
How's that, buddy?
Ask your boyfriend.
Jeff, we can't continue the podcast.
That's worse. I swear to God.
Gotcha. Copy that. All right.
Oh my God.
That's so weird.
Free podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Free podcast. Free podcast.
I mean, it's y'all's free podcast. It's
okay. It's a free podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's a free podcast. You can find it anywhere on iTunes, Spotify. Free podcast,
better. Yay, Jeff, this is better.
Better.
Okay.
Yay.
Wonderful.
Okay, so that was why. But yeah, no. We were just saying that I had met Zoe at a party prior to ever. This was, and the party was like 3 years before I ever worked with you. Just as we may proceed. Thank you, Jeff. I'm glad we have your blessing. And I remember
free podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Free podcast. Free podcast.
Celebrity.
You can find this podcast available on Spotify. It's a free podcast. Free podcast. Available on iTunes everywhere. Free podcast.
And Elizabeth introduced me to you. And Jeff says, I'll allow it. And then that's how I met you, and you were really nice. And then that happened where we all started working together with ERZULIE. So I thought it was pretty cool. I've
told you before as well that I distinctly remember meeting both of you. I think it was the first time. Maybe it wasn't the first time that I had met Elizabeth, but it's always been a general goal of mine to work with more female directors and writers. So anytime I'm getting introduced to a female director in Austin that I haven't met before, like, it's a moment for me too. I don't know if that came across when we were originally talking about it, because I was so nervous and our like group audition when you were telling that story. But it's always a little bit of like, I want to impress this person, I want to work with this person, because I just haven't gotten that many opportunities to work with female directors before.
That's crazy.
I've maybe worked with one other female director.
Yeah.
My whole life. And I've been working for over a decade in Austin.
That's crazy. Why aren't there more of us?
That's a great question. It's a great question.
That is a great question.
I can go on a diatribe about that.
It's more rhetorical. Yeah. You get it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
so you were nervous?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were nervous. Why were you nervous? Do you get nervous on most auditions, or was it because it was a group audition, so you got nervous?
Both. I think it was so exciting to consider being in a project with 5 other actresses, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like often I get cast as somebody's girlfriend in a role, which I'm not thinking at all. Like I've had so many great experiences on set not being surrounded by women, but the concept of I'm going to meet 4+ women who are like my peers and do the same thing I do was really exciting to me. So it's not so much nervous, it's like excitement and wanting to fit in the right way in the group and in the, like trying to take cues from their acting when we were doing sort of a group audition. See what this character needed to be. So it is nerves, but it's also just, I mean, it's like any job interview, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
No,
I feel like it's heightened though in an audition, right? Like it feels like, I don't know, with a job interview, like I don't know, like I feel like it's easier to kind of like sell yourself, I guess, in a job interview, but in an audition, you have to pour your heart and soul in like less than 2.5 minutes. It feels like I've seen auditions, and I've been to one audition before, and I was having like a nervous breakdown, panic attacks. Like,
wait, what'd you audition for?
It was I honestly don't even want to talk about it. It was back when I was 18 years old. It was like for this, it was like a short film, but it was for some company. I don't know. But
you auditioned? I'm so excited. I didn't even know that.
It was,
and then you gave me shit for me throwing you into the film when you were
because that was the moment that I realized I hated being in front of camera. That I cannot stand being in front of camera.
But you're so good.
I'm horrible at it. I'm awful. Every time I see myself, especially like editing these podcasts, I see it. I'm like, all right, I need to take a break, and then I come back.
Did you see it when I had the little snippet at the end where he's in it or not? Or was okay. Yeah, I can't remember.
Am I actually in it? I thought like Wait, really?
You're in it.
We're co-stars, Adam.
Yeah, see, look, budding movie star. Yeah, you're.
We are.
Yeah, you're totally in it.
Does it feel bad while you're doing it, or just after that?
While I'm doing it, because sometimes like when I was like younger, like I feel like I have to have my adolescent brain just kick in, and then I have to be like funny in the moment when I just need to just play in the moment instead of just trying to act funny in the moment, because because I have so much insecurity and anxiety that I have to like constantly have fun with everybody around me. So I don't want to go into a serious mode when I'm already like in fun, silly play mode. It's hard for me to just switch to that moment, which is why I respect actors and give them the patience and the distance that they need, especially for them to work and hone in on their fucking craft, because you need that time. You need that time set aside so you can just like focus. I can't, like I'm just silly. Like I can't sit still, and I'm always trying to have fun. But yeah, and then afterwards I will see it, and then sometimes in the moment I will understand like maybe I shouldn't have done this, especially while we're fucking rolling. And then afterwards, that's when I feel even worse, because especially if they say like, yeah, we really didn't like it, you didn't take this here, like that would destroy me, because it's not that I'm trying to not take it seriously. I am taking it seriously. It's just I get really nervous. So I have to
Sure,
like
totally.
constantly have fun and poke fun around everything, especially on myself. So
I have the opposite problem.
Yeah.
For me, because I'm not taking it seriously, for me, acting is like fun, just like purely. I know I'm not going to make a career out of it. So like the stakes aren't high for me. So like, I'm just like, hey, if I get in this role, sweet. It's something
Yeah.
I never thought I would be able to. So because of that, I think I come off extremely natural because like I'm not thinking about it, overthinking or anything because it's not my like career. Versus I have that same emotion when people watch my work though. So anytime I have to screen any movie of any sort, no matter how old it was or like what or how confident I am about that film, I have those nerves that you talk about for when you probably auditioning or whatnot. Like it's so stressful. Like even when I hear if my friend is like, oh, I'm watching your film like right now, they're not in the same room, I'm still like, oh fuck, so
Yeah, I relate to that.
yeah.
me too.
So I think that's what it is. It's so, but I wish I could just be like, oh yeah, it's fine, like it's just been working, whatever. But I think when you take it that seriously and that you care about it so much, you're going
That's
to
the
have
thing.
that. Yeah.
Because I'm trying to, I want to take this seriously, yet there are definitely people around me. And like even as a set dresser, I work in the art department. Even as a set dresser, I will crack a joke and the art director will turn and look at me and be like, "Are you fucking kidding me for saying this joke right now? You need to take this way more fucking seriously." I've definitely gotten that before, but like especially when you're acting and you got to be in the moment, especially you have other actors in the scene, that's even worse because then they're depending on you for your reaction and your emotion emitting from the character in that moment. Then they can't take it seriously, and then that they can't do their job, so I then feel even more guilty. So acting is just, and I'm super self-conscious. So especially if I upset somebody, if I truly upset somebody, that I carry that with me. I really carry it, especially if I like, I don't know, like especially if I like make someone's day bad,
Totally.
Like,
And that's the worst feeling on set is like thinking that you've let somebody down or thinking that you've made somebody's day harder. Like that's the nightmare of being on set. It's like so much worse than making a fool out of yourself. Is like slowing people down and not showing up.
Right.
Did you have I guess what were the difficult moments on set, the hardest scenes for you on set, and what were your favorite scenes on set? Curious.
There's a lot of different ways I could slice that question.
Okay.
I think that Faye in general was a really big turning point for me acting wise in general.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
I'm ready. I think kind of skated by, maybe that's the wrong term to use, but it's the one that's coming to my head right now. Skated by on relying on sort of like natural instinct in acting for a really, really long time. And it hadn't necessarily been asked to do a lot more. And Faye wasn't me. I think I've played a lot of characters that are me before.
Yeah.
And Faye, especially the scene. Do you guys do spoilers?
Yeah, if it's not too big of a spoiler, nobody's seen it.
I'll step around it lightly.
Light spoilers, a sprinkle, if you will.
Light spoiler. There's a scene where my character gets into a really big argument with someone, and they're screaming at each other.
Right.
And I have a problem in my personal life of like having the ability to yell in general.
Yeah.
Like even if the aforementioned boyfriend is upstairs and I'm downstairs, like I'll walk upstairs and be like, hey, I need your attention for something, rather than like yelling his name upstairs. So I was really nervous about, there's a lot of screaming that this character does in the movie, and a lot of like vocalization. And so I was nervous for that. And really, I think the only way that I got through that was the person who I was yelling at, we got really comfortable with each other pretty quickly, and talked about the concept of acting in kind of a bigger way, and I felt like she was really on my team. But the thing that was the hardest, I mean, any of the water stuff, I mean, I think that was the hardest,
physically
for everyone.
I
mean, it was hard.
That was tough. That was a tough day.
She had to be underwater for a while,
but in a way that like she's struggling
but
with
still
no one
like
drowning
beautiful
her.
somehow.
Exactly.
It's anytime. I think that in general, like water stuff on the set is usually the hardest day. You know, like you could categorize that as the worst day, but I don't know that it's the worst. It's just the most challenging. Like it was freaking cold and hard, and that was hard. My favorite thing to shoot, though, I think my favorite, if I'm thinking about my favorite moment on set in general, was when Tamika Soretti came to set. There was a moment where we all went to kind of the bungalow cabin that we were staying at, and we were all just kind of having a drink and talking, and everyone was kind of talking about how they got into acting, and sitting there again in this group of women, and all of them talking about their process and the way that they think about work, and everyone having such a different concept of how they came into their character was amazing. It was like a secret little round table that we got to have together.
That's cool.
And I've never had anything like that. And,
like a meeting of the Avengers. Yes,
it felt like that. It really did.
That's awesome.
It was very cool. Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I knew that you guys had I had hoped, and I'm glad it worked out. For the audience who don't know, I put all the leads into a cabin. The cabin that they act in is also
and lock them in there.
I locked them in and be like, make magic. But no, so the
be friends
cabin that is film is also where lived and stayed. And for me, it was kind of strategic. It was like, you guys, I wanted you guys to feel like you are long-term friends and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I figured like when you are intimate and you live together, you just become, there's an ease to everything that comes with living together with somebody, because you're going to run into somebody coming out of the shower, you're going to run into somebody going to the bathroom and doing a deuce, like it's just all
or walking in after somebody did the deuce.
And that's even
more awkward.
This intimacy, and I'm just glad. It could have like backfired and been like you guys all hated each other, and then like that it would not work well. But like luckily, you guys all actually bonded together, and that was one of the big things that people who have seen the film have said, that like, oh, the friend group is so believable. So,
and I still wholeheartedly think, because we also talked about this with Layla last week, and I wholeheartedly think that because Christine got to know in some fashion to know us all on her set, every single one, she knew the vibe of us. So she knew the vibe of probably the cast. So she was already like, she already had the vibe check down before
vibe for me is so important. And it's interesting because I think about it, I'm like, well, I always not, and I know I won't, but I've wondered, like, I've always picked my crew because I know crew so well because of my day job, which is first ADing. So I've handpicked my crew because I think the vibe is so important. And casting, I've always had an extremely hands-on approach to casting because I've had to cast my own shit by myself with no casting director. So I just wonder when that will change, when you get to like the bigger projects. So you just can't do that anymore. And I wonder what that dynamic is going to be like. Because
it'll probably be something that you bump up against as you move forward, like it
at some point.
It'll be hard.
Yeah.
But it
So
totally showed, like, even especially in the makeup room, Roxy and Lisa,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
did all of our makeup,
Shout out.
shout out, just were such good caretakers on set, and we really
Yeah.
needed that, especially in the like water and mermaid
yes.
sequences. That I think if had you not had that
Yeah, it would have been
that
hard.
personal like insight of like these people will take care of them, I think it could have been a disaster. You have to balance that person out. I think I talk a lot about filmmakers who design an intentional community, and I think that you're definitely doing it when you're
Yeah,
thinking
that
so hard about
community is so important for me on set.
Yeah.
I think it's just my favorite sets are the ones where like we're joking on set, playing music, having fun. You know, obviously when we roll, we're all serious and we got our shit done. But like that to me, the work life, what are we called? Culture. I think that's what they say in the corporate world is so important.
Very important.
Yeah. And
especially staying together too. That's even nuts. I miss the days where I wake up, and I get to see Reese right next door, just pop in and be like, "Hey, what's up, Reese?" He's like, "Hey, man, what's up? Good morning."
That was a really good Reese.
Yeah, I nail a good Reese.
Yeah.
That Lex Luthor motherfucker. I love him. I love him. Yeah.
I because of ERZULIE got to work with Reese on the short. That was so much fun.
Yeah, and you won.
Sky.
You won an award, right?
From Carthage, Texas, which is
Hey!
I was very excited about that. Yeah.
That's so
I wasn't
congratulations.
There. Thank you so much. I wasn't there, but I got a text from Reese about it. So
yeah.
Excited.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, and the short looks awesome too. Reese looked like he did a fantastic job.
Well,
I'm really
we had Lisa.
And Lisa, yes. Yeah, I remember
right.
that. Yeah, Lisa acted too. She did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw the film. So yes, it was really well done. And I was very proud of he wrote me such a nice email being like, "Hey, I'm doing this because like you doing your shit like really inspired me to like direct and stuff." I'm like, whatever, like you were awesome. Like I was just excited that he shot the thing and edited it, and that's I don't know. I respect directors that figure out how to do it on their own in the beginning, because I think there is something with directors who understand all of the roles on a film set and why they are all important. I think there is, unfortunately, I've AD plenty, a lack of directors that have have grown up with the crew, and it shows. And so
it definitely shows.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. I know that actors get a different version of the director than crew has, but there's stuff that
it's like it goes from like a lack of understanding and perspective with like why like throwing an actor through something multiple times is not like, it doesn't, if you've been in that in those shoes and stuff like that. And I'm not saying, that's part of the reason why I like to throw myself into films and act and stuff like that, because it's perspective for me. It's knowing like, oh, sometimes I can't tell how I look on camera at all. And I need somebody to be like, just shift to the left a little bit and angle your body this way, like technical things like that. Or that you can't do a certain emotion over and over and over and over again without it sacrificing something, and
totally.
I don't know, that was why I wanted to try the freaking tail on to see like what is it like. And I'm glad I did, because once I got that on, I was like, oh shit, I need to make these changes to the tail, because these things here and here and here are strategically not going to work. So that's why it was after we tested it that I realized we had to cut a slit in the tail so that in certain parts she could actually be in the tail but still stand in the tail, but
without breaking the tail, just being inside.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Without breaking the tail, without, because like expecting somebody who's not trained to be a mermaid to swim and act at the same time, multiple, it was just not possible, basically. But I only knew that because I went in and tested the shit out of it, you know? So it's just, I just think it's important, I think, for directors to have some sort of understanding of the different roles or an appreciation, I think. But I'm really happy that you caught on in the community aspect of it. And I really think that it shows and in the film itself, because so many people who watch it are like, oh, like the friend group is so believable. Like that it felt like me and my friends, like that's not a single person. Everybody loved the friend group. It was like women who watched and stuff just like really connected with that aspect of it.
Well, I mean, we're starved for that, right? We're starved for seeing female friendship on screen. We want it so badly. So I can totally see anyone, you know, even if we hadn't had chemistry, it's like, I still wanted to see these 4+ women interact and have issues with each other, like very real, deep issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what I liked when Camille and I were writing about it. We wanted to show women that weren't perfect, far from it, that were dealing with their own trauma, but not in like a on your nose way and like, oh, so much of that stuff is a trickle down effect, and it may be something that you all know. That was the interesting part, was how do we still convey that they all know of each other's issues without blatantly writing it out, these are my issues, because together they would know each other's issues. So how do you explain that without explaining? It was, well, you know what I'm saying?
And I think that we did a lot of that on the fly. Like we had, like, I know that some of Faye's trauma history was kind of altered in the edit. And like, I know that there's a scene where Ari's talking about her family, where you guys ended up changing a line that felt too harsh or too. I wasn't on set that day. I just remember them talking about like, oh, what could that line be that isn't so pointy at Ari. So it takes a lot of work to figure out those relationships, for sure.
Yeah, it's a complete group effort. That my favorite part. I love rehearsal. I know there's directors that don't like rehearsal, but I love rehearsal. And part of the reason that I love rehearsals because I direct a lot of things that I write, and I am still not confident in myself as a writer because I really don't think I'm a writer. Because I write to direct. Directing is what I do, and so I gain so much through the rehearsal, hearing it with you guys, and because you have done the background and the research and being those characters, you kind of have an even more heightened understanding of what you think the character would or would not do and would or would not say, or how they would say it. And that's the part I find absolutely fascinating when I get to rehearse, because there's just things when you'll say, you'll be like, that just sounds weird, or like I wouldn't, and understanding the psychology behind why you would or would not do something as that your character, to me, is absolutely invaluable. So that's why I love rehearsals, is because I love hearing all of that, that back and forth. And I think that's the part that, I don't know, I learned the most about the film. And that's also the part too, when you realize when you have holes too, and you're like, oh shit, I
was about to say, I'm like, you can edit on the fly during rehearsal. You know, it's just like, maybe I shouldn't have that line.
Exactly.
Or maybe I shouldn't block that way. Shit. Okay.
Yeah. The worst is when are like, so can you explain this and this and this?
Right.
And then you're like,
I can't.
Oh no.
Camille always had great lore answers for why something happened the way with ERZULIE. She'd always be like, well, I considered this way because of this research. This is the event that happened with this being, this magical being. Yes. And I loved hearing that. That was so nice. That was tasty to my like logical brain. Yeah.
No, Camille and I love co-writing with her. I think our strengths complement each other. Mine is a lot about the pace and the like I'm very good about events. Like she's very good with dialogue. And we kind of mesh together where she'll have this long ass dialogue and they're like not doing something very interesting. And I'll be like, okay, let's take that and put that into these things that are happening so that like so that visually it'll look more interesting or something like that. So it was very fun co-writing with her. She may have a different opinion on that. We're also very different too. So
Sure.
I remember we were working in Celtics because both people can see it. And I started to go in and tweak things and it was like driving her up the wall because she was like, wait, the page count was 90. Why is it 80 now? What did you do? What did you take out? Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that partnership would be very hard. I was laughing when you were saying that you didn't feel like a writer because literally last night I was having dinner with a director friend. The project that we had worked on together, he wrote and directed it, and is trying to channel his writer side right now, as opposed, and he's saying like, because of my director side, I don't see a script as the final product.
Correct.
So it's hard for me to finish it. You know, like it never feels finished because it isn't that's not my final thing.
Right.
And I think that's a really interesting
take on that.
Yeah.
No, this is exactly what it is. It's like I've had to become better at like being a writer because I thought about I started to enter certain scripts into competitions and stuff, and I'm like, I see what I was saying, but like somebody else who's just reading the script is not going to see what I'm going to, because I've written it because as if I'm going to direct it, so yes, you're exactly right, where it's not finished and a lot of the things might change based on rehearsals or what you're going to do or with your blocking and everything. So that's why I'm like, I could never write something and have zero direct, like without the knowledge that I'm probably going to direct it. Like I could just like, here's the script, go do what you will, another director. Like if I'm going to go through the pain of writing, like I deserve to direct.
You better follow through with that. Yeah.
Totally. Would you direct something that somebody else wrote?
See, I can do that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said the same thing?
That's why that's why I know I'm a director, but I'm not a writer. It's the same thing with editing, everything. I hate editing other people's stuff, but I can edit my stuff. I produce it, but same with directing. I can direct the shit out of anybody else's stuff, but writing is so hard. Like for me, writing is so painful that my reward is knowing that I'm going to be able to direct it, or I wouldn't be putting myself through all that shit.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, but Camille is a writer. And so working with her was great because she would be able to, she can do like a time. I'd be like, okay, I need this done by the end of December. And she'll have her methodology and she's and like have these pages and it's done by December. Like I can't write with a deadline like that, like I don't know. Shit just flows off the page for her. And for me, I'm just like, did I even write this correctly in the right format is half the time, what I'm wondering. I'm like looking up sources being like, is this how we write this? Yeah. Type thing. But knowing that technically I'm the only one who's going to be really seeing it, maybe like the rest, some of my crew, but I can explain that, so
right.
I mean, Zoe, do you write at all or no?
I wrote some in college, just like that was the timeline of me kind of being like, am I an actor? Because when you start really early, it's kind of hard to tie that to like, oh yeah, I am this, is it like, did I choose that or was I just 14 and wanted to be on the movie set? So I've explored it some, but I've never had the like follow through to finish like a full like feature length script at all. All props for people who can do that.
It's it's tough.
Yeah.
Have you done? Would you want to write something like a short film or something?
Does writing even interest you?
Yeah, is writing interesting to you?
I think in general, actors can be great at writing dialogue.
Yeah,
I think so too. I think
Yeah.
they're the only people who can understand dialogue more than most writers, I can argue.
I
Yeah.
think that I could co-write perhaps with someone who has a little bit more of a I'm not sure which Christine or Camille would be the one, but someone who just has a better concept of moving things forward and plot, what they, like specific action items. And I feel like I could go in and be like, the sentence is whack, like nobody would say it like this, or I can just like hear that voice in my head a little bit.
Oh, that
clearer.
voice, and by the way, that voice never goes away.
Totally,
That voice is in the back of my head every time I turn on my computer. It's like, hey, dummy, you should turn your computer off. Go play your fucking video games. You're not going to go writing today, you stupid. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it. But I think like pushing that barrier through, you find, like, especially with the news, like, and other things, like going back into old inspirations. Like, I mean, we talked about this ad nauseum in previous episodes, but going back to old things that inspire me, like listening to old albums and reading comic books that I was inspired by, and old movies even, and other movies, new movies that I never even fucking seen before. That plays a part in writing for me. Just in the sense of like, my brain is always on writing mode at all times, it feels like, because it honestly, like, how I ingest content is not the same as, like, I'm not trying now it sounds like I'm trying to like point myself out against other people. I'm not trying to do that. I like when I am in the writing like phase of this script, like I'm focused on writing so much that any other content that I ingest is most likely going to permeate and go through into my script. Does that make sense? Like, it feels like whatever I do or whatever I watch is going to be inspired by, and then I do that. Like right now I'm watching, like, because like trying to understand choreography of fight scenes is so fascinating to me, and it's been fascinating since I was a very young child, when I first watched Drunken Master when I was 11 years old by Jackie Chan. And it was like movie that fucking blew my mind. That could be, one, hilarious, and two, fucking insane with action. And Jackie Chan's punches were of another fucking caliber that no one has ever seen in this fucking universe. Like the frames at that time with those giant Panavision cameras in like the 70s couldn't even keep up with how fast he was punching. It looks like a hazy line. It's nuts. But he still has the talent of choreographing beautiful scenes, like fight scenes and stuff. So that permeates into what I try to write. So I guess my question is, like, what inspires you? Like what gets you into the creative mindset for you to explore in?
Sure. I think that I have kind of a unique acting situation because it wasn't, a childhood goal of mine. It wasn't like, I want to be an actor when I grow up. It just kind of happened. Almost by accident. I never planned to be an actor. So it's really, I think, been kind of a more recent choice to take it more seriously, think about it more creatively, as opposed to, this person wants me on their set and I'm going to show up and do as good as I can, and as long as they're fine with it, I'm fine with it. It's a different mindset to, be around Diana, for example, and hear her talk about how she works on craft. Like acting craft is so foreign to me, honestly. Like it's just different. It's a different approach to it. So it's something that I'm really figuring out. Acting isn't something that I feel like I have to do or I'll die. And that sometimes makes it a little bit complicated for me to figure out where that inspiration is coming from. But I know that when I get a script that I really love and connect with, like, that's very inspiring to me. It's like, this story means something to me, so I want to do the work to get to this one scene, that to make that payoff make sense. You know, in ERZULIE, to use that as an example, I was really interested in this young white character getting to the point where she's taking up all the air in the room and not seeing anyone else's point of view. You know, again, I like don't want to talk. I don't want to get into that.
Right. Yeah.
But there's just some moment where it's very clear that she's not thinking about anyone else but herself. And
Gotcha.
and doing the work to get to that point through other scenes of like, as opposed to thinking of it as she's so selfish right now, like how can I trick my brain out of that thought of like she's being selfish? Like how can I turn this
instead of
interesting.
instead of being judgmental about what the character is doing, kind of
Exactly.
being able to go with the flow.
But you
and-
also embrace the character too for
Mhm.
its flaws because of that, you know,
Totally,
and you see the positive in the negative, I guess, you know.
Well, I think I've done enough. I think work that I've done in therapy informs acting so much, and like books I've read
Right.
about trauma inform the way that I act and the way I understand characters, because I don't see that, again, using this as an example, I don't see Faye as an evil person or even necessarily as a selfish person. I see her as somebody with a complex history, and like it makes logical sense that she would get to these conclusions. It's just the situation she's in.
You know, it's really interesting because I've watched recently Maid, and that character frustrates me so much. But I can't imagine, like, if you're going in, you're playing that character, that idea of like you can't judge what the character is doing because you are that person and you're in that situation and you're not thinking outside of yourself, right?
Exactly.
So that's exactly, because I was watching it being like, oh my God, I would not do that. But then you can't really think of it that way because the character is not you, right?
Yeah.
So I find that really interesting that you're what you were saying about how you have to go about getting past your initial reactions as yourself to a character, and so that you can go back in and truly be that person without judgment.
Right.
And based off their perspective.
My reaction as that character, or even as a reader, like knowing that climax is what we need to get to, I kind of have to keep in both hands, like, yeah, we need to get there and we're not there yet. Like there's such a balance between like pacing that build up.
Yeah. That's interesting. Because I don't struggle as much with it when I'm writing as I would think I would. But yeah, because I'm also writing some pretty, not in this case, but in some other scripts, just shitty like characters I don't like.
Yeah.
You know, like as if I were to meet them in real life, not like them at all. But I have to be able to think and speak as if I'm that person without like without judging, you know, but it's situational in that aspect, and trying to really put myself in that. So that's, I don't know, long story short, I that's a really interesting way to put it and think about that.
I think I can hardly think about if I like someone or not. You know, like right. Do I understand why they're doing this? Like, is this person evil for no reason? Like, I just don't necessarily believe in that in real life. So why would I believe in it? Unless it's sort of like a heightened genre movie of like, this person is bad to the bone. Sure, whatever. We're talking about different things here. Like, we're talking about something that's very grounded in reality, which is hilarious to say because
it's a fiction, but
but it is so grounded in reality and in relationships that I think you do have
the emotions are relatable.
Yeah. I was going to segue from Adam's talking about stunts and stuff like that. And I was going to ask, how much stunts have you done? And what was the experience of doing some of the stunt work on ERZULIE?
It was awesome. It was so exciting to use my body in that way. I think I have issues with the way that acting can alter your relationship with your body. In terms of, it can sometimes, I've experienced like a disconnect between my brain and my body the more that I'm like working on something or anything like that. But then when you're doing stunt work, you really have to balance the like safety aspect of it too, so you have to be physically present. So it was really exciting. It was awesome to worry a little bit less about appearing feminine or beautiful or anything like that, and be like, you're gonna get dragged face down through some dirt. I'm like,
there's nothing cool about it.
Yeah. The past year has been a year of getting parts that challenge that side of my insecurity, and it's been amazing. It's like, it has really changed my relationship with myself, for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Because you get, there's no way you can make some of this stuff look beautiful. You're not going to look beautiful.
No.
You're not going to look
or coordinated or athletic, or like you're just going to look like a like sack of meat, and like that's what you are. Too bad.
Right.
You're gonna have to deal with that.
Like there's a commentary that I watched on have y'all ever seen Police Story? It's another Jackie Chan film, but I listened to the commentary, and it was so fascinating because he was like, take any action scene ever in the history of cinema, there's never going to be one person that looks absolutely cool while getting punched in the stomach or getting body slammed or hit in the back of the head. You know, he is like, I would challenge anybody to keep a smile on their face while getting brutally fucking hit, especially in the way I do. And he was like, 95% of all the fight scenes, I look like I'm bloated. like hearing that from Jackie Chan was just like, oh yeah, he's not gonna try to win anybody here. He's gonna do it based off of what the choreography is gonna do and speak for itself, instead of just him trying to be in the moment and trying to, you know, he was like, if there's no joke, if there's no gag that I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna do it. Especially like there's plenty of fight scenes that don't have any comedy at all. In fact, there's some fight scenes that are just really fucking brutal, especially for a Chan film. He is like, the story speaks for itself. Thus, the choreography speaks for itself. He is like, that's the main goal. And if you're trying to look sexy while doing it, you're going at it in an ass backwards way, you know?
And it's such a trap. It's such an easy trap to fall into. Of like,
it is, yeah.
Like as soon as somebody like sees you on a monitor and it's like, oh, you look great today. Like, it's really hard to not be like, where's my light again? Like, where my cheekbone is where? Like, and it's really hard to push that aside. But again, it all depends on the role. I think sometimes you have to lean into some of that depending on the project. Like I know, because we were talking about Scare Package earlier. We shot Scare Package 2, I think, right after ERZULIE, and we had stunts on that as well. And there was like a slow motion stunt where I had to look badass. Like, it had to be fake, you know, like it had to look like rad as opposed to sack of meat. And it was it was so hard to like align my body like perfectly, like combine both of those sides of acting. It was rough. It was very rough.
Because how is that, like, I mean, I don't know. It feels like that's a really like that's a really long road to trek through. You know what I mean? Like to just be fake and also make it look super fucking rad and super fucking cool. I understand, like, you know, some like fucking Tarantino, sure, I guess, but also let it be the way it's supposed to be, you know.
I think it's just what this story calls for, you know, like there's like called
unless that's
realism.
What exactly, and if that's what the story calls for, especially in ERZULIE's case, 100%, I believe that.
It's interesting because, and then on top of that, safety and all that stuff that we're also making sure and thinking of and trying to make natural, and right. I don't know, it's I'm happy that I came from an editing background, because if I didn't, I think wrapping my brain around the capturing the stunt sequences and the would have been really, really, really difficult too. Because when you're doing those, there's angles that you're cheating for certain parts. There is parts of the movement that you want to just keep doing over and over. So if for the audience who has never shot an action sequence and stuff, a lot of it is done in parts. And my brain thinks that way because ADing is very much like that as well. I'm constantly thinking of, how do we break this entire fight sequence supposed to look like it lasted for 1 minute and it's one continuous thing? How do we break it up into manageable parts that also is safe for the actors, but also won't wear them out as well, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think if I didn't have that background and I went in just directing just this fight sequence, I think it would have been extremely difficult, or just I would have failed miserably. But it's the fact that I had to think that way, that I was able to do that fight sequence, because we were breaking it up in completely out of order sequences, and people thought I was crazy. Like, why are we doing this one and doing this? And then why are we doing, but a lot of it was like, okay, you also are thinking, if we don't shoot everything from this angle, then that's more lights I have to move to this side. And then, so it's, I don't know, it's that's where I'm like, directors need to understand. I think the best ones just understand editing. They understand why every other department is important, how you have to be flexible to manage everybody's needs to make that particular scene work. And so, and you have to think about, you're being tied up by your ankle and being dragged in the water, type thing. Okay, probably shouldn't do that 50 times, right? Like, let's do it once or twice. Let's rehearse it. Let's make sure and just do that. If we just do that scene, how do I tie from there to when you are tied up and all the stuff right before that, and just breaking up into these little chunks that in the editing room, it just all magically makes sense and fits together. So it's fun to hear your perspective of you having to not worry about not being a sack of meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let your body be a rag doll, dude.
Yeah. So that is quite fascinating. Well, I was going to ask, you have seen the film, but not the most recent version.
No.
And what were your initial reactions to it? And why would you think that people should watch it?
I mean, I can't wait to see the final film. I feel like I saw a pretty early version of it.
Yes.
And then like the big thrill for me, it's hard for me to watch a movie that was a challenge for me. Like, the part wasn't just like, I'll show up and like knock it out. It's hard for me to watch a project like that and not just be focused on myself or on notes, because Christine was asking for notes at this, of like trying to catalog, like, should, I do want to talk about that, I want to talk about this, I have a note for this. The thing that was really exciting for me was that my partner's niece came along, and it was her birthday, and she just like she was laughing like I've never heard her laugh before. It was like an out of control excitement laugh at some of the jokes. And she's, I think, turning 12 at the time. And it was like, I forget that, like, it's about that, of like just seeing this thing happen and finding joy in it, and being kind of a fan of the process, like being hyped And that was just like such a nice reminder in general, and like driving home with her and hearing what she liked about it and what she, what she really responded to was very cool for me.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that, and I'm like, that's awesome, because both of us will watch it being like notes. I mean, I watched this 50 million times, and every time I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, is that pacing okay? Is the sound okay there? And then is this coloring there is okay? Yeah, I'm just like, it's just notes and notes and notes and notes. And it's I think I said this in a previous episode when I was deep in the editing process, that you get so many notes that you almost forget that there is actually good stuff in there. The reason for the notes is to make it better.
Yeah.
But when you're drowning in notes, it feels like, why the fuck did I make this?
Right. It's hard to see the bigger, brighter picture.
It just sucks, right?
Do you have to be careful about who you ask for notes because it'll cloud your brain?
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing I learned in this process, because in everything else, when you're doing like a short film, this note process isn't as intense. It just won't reach the level of this note. This note process was intense. And I think what I learned the most was learning to see the patterns. That was the beauty of when you get certain notes and seeing the patterns and realizing when there are problems. Being okay to feel how you're going to feel when you receive some of these notes, but taking the time to process those feelings and then revisit the notes with more of a logical brain. Yeah. So because you're going to feel, even though you tell yourself you're not going to, and it's all notes and it's not personal,
your emotional brain just wants to say, fuck you.
Yes.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. My biggest moment was I got to a place where I'm like, this is great. I'm going to show the distributors. Their reaction was not what you had wanted.
Yeah.
And their note was, for me, like I was so enraged from the first no process, and then just then lots of self-doubt, like, okay, if they feel this way, then this must, blah, blah, blah. And then, but then when I was able to calm down from that, all the emotions, being able to sit there and ask why these notes, right? And I think that was the biggest thing I learned, was questioning every single note. And because when somebody says something like, oh, you don't need this scene, or the scene was too long or stuff, that may not be the fix. Mm-hmm. It may be too long because they don't understand why that scene is important, which means that there might be other places that you need to insert in that make that scene more relevant. Therefore, when the relevancy shows up, that scene, the length of it is fine, because now we understand the importance of that scene, right? It's probably similar with acting, where if I'm telling you, oh, I don't feel this, well, may not necessarily mean, it may just be like, oh, I'm missing this aspect of how I'm thinking about this one particular, but I think that's the part that I learned the most from, was that you cannot take these notes black and white. You have to dissect and go in and understand, like, why is this scene confusing to somebody, right? And sometimes you have to ask 10 people to finally find one person who can explain it in a way that you can comprehend. Mm-hmm. For me, the one thing that I could not wrap my brain around and figure out how to make it clear, you probably know, was the whole connection with ERZULIE and the pollution. Mm-hmm. I could not for the life of me figure out how the fuck to make it better, because I'm I mentioned it here, I mentioned it here, I mentioned it here. The great thing was all those things did continue to add and help that aspect. And then finally, one person said, something and it just all clicked. So there's a moment in the scene where ERZULIE goes nuts, right? And my friend said, but if you shoot a bear, they're going to go nuts. So why is it? So as an audience, I'm going to assume that's why they went nuts, is because you just shot me, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to think, oh, you went nuts because of this other external factor that is not the direct impact of what I just saw visually with my eyes. So it's this like, okay, so that's the biggest thing I learned was like, if you're trying to, the audience needs A plus B equals C. If you have A something equals C, they're not that plus B, they will make their own thought of what plus B is, unless you really shove it in their face that plus B is without a doubt this plus B. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that was the thing that like I could not wrap my brain around, because I would have A visually, I would have C visually, and I have some semblance of B everywhere else throughout the script. But just because I didn't show physically plus B, people were making like 50 other different like thoughts that I'm flabbergasted that they came up with those other, because they're not me. And so I'm like, really? Somebody thought that?
Yeah, sure.
So that, I think that's why the audience feedback test screening moments were so important, so eye-opening. And that's something I never done with any of my films, with the test screening. Because short films, not so much and whatever, but like, I don't know.
I do freelance illustration other than acting, and there's this concept in freelance design work that is, if you get a note from the client, it's like, why would I ever do this? Like, I hate this note. It's ugly. It's stupid. You need to be listening for the problem that they're thinking of, as opposed to like, they don't know the solution. You got to figure out the problem. And I feel like that's so
problem
as well.
Yes, that's much more eloquently said than my long-winded explanation.
But it took me a long time
what it is
to like get, like, it's so easy to get a note like that and be like, they just don't understand. Like, they don't even know. They don't know what that, like, this project is about.
Yeah.
Do they know
art?
No.
They just don't get it.
It's my first response for sure, and it calms me down to be like, okay, it's a communication error. Like, it's not that we live on different planets, you know?
Right.
So I totally relate to that.
Yeah, because it's so, I mean, we're human, and so the comments sometimes hurt. I mean,
sure, totally.
Right.
Well, people talk all the time about actors being crazy sensitive, and we are, like, of course we are.
Hang on, filmmakers are crazy sensitive too.
I mean,
artists are crazy sensitive.
Filmmakers are super duper sensitive, maybe even more than actors, because at least actors can, let go of the insecurity, just embrace the character for itself.
Adam, you said it, not me. Okay,
listen. But no, it's so funny because like I've definitely worked on a set where they're just like, this fucking the talent, am I right? I'm just like, what are you talking about?
Well, sometimes like, I've certainly worked with people where I'd be like, the talent, am I right? But anyway,
right.
I just
there's some sure.
In terms of us talking about like earning that climax for an actor, like that plot climax, then when you change a detail over here, and like in the actor's brain, it's like, I have this, I have this, I have this, and that equals this.
Yeah,
in my head, and that's our version of like A plus B equals C. It's like you're removing B,
exactly,
and now it's like, why am I here? What?
Right.
I feel completely unmoored.
It can be many other possibilities. B can be X. B can be anything. Exactly. So that's exactly. Yeah. And then you go through the same process writing as well. It's like, all right, I changed B. Crap, that fucks up A and C and everything else. Right
in the middle of that right now. I literally, like this morning, I read my script and I'm like, oh, I gotta change all of B. In fact, I'm gonna throw B out the fucking window. I don't even care anymore. But I need to I learned to just walk away, calm myself down. I'm going to do the podcast. I'll come back to it after I make a sandwich.
Well, Christine, have you ever asked for notes that aren't fixes? Like, have you been like, just complain about it? As opposed to being like, fix the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
Really?
Are hard.
Yeah, sure.
Like how to we'll have stuff like, how did you feel in a certain way, or like how did this scene? Oftentimes I've learned to do this when I give notes, and I will often ask, so you tell me first what you were trying to achieve, and then I'll tell you if I felt those things or not. You know, and I've had people say that to me, being like, okay, so what were you trying to accomplish here? And then I'll tell them this is what it is. And then they'll be like, I didn't get any of that. Or I got part of that. And this is why. Or I felt this, or I didn't feel anything at all because of this, you know, type thing. And so I think you have to go into the feeling first before you can dive back into how technically you can fix it sometimes.
Sure.
Because
it's hard for me to not, if I'm giving notes to someone, it's hard for me to not jump in with like, and here's how you'll fix it. Like, I'm gonna, I can't complain without giving you a solution, like, you know, it
solution,
feels uncomfortable, but it's maybe not necessarily helpful to you.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the gut thing that people want to do is offer a solution.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why you get all these different solutions, and they may not be the right solution. And that's what I've learned while getting notes. You
know what other footage you have. You know, like what you have, you've already have cut, or you have like saved up. So, you know, my fix of it is not necessarily relevant even. It's like almost confusing to the
yeah.
But it's interesting because I think most people, at least most filmmakers, come with fixes.
Totally.
Yeah. And so that's why I like to show it to audiences that don't know anything about film, and they simply will just say like, oh, I don't understand this part, or like, I didn't get this, or I'll ask them like, what did you think? You know, why did ERZULIE go crazy? Like, I'll ask them things like that. So it's more about the story, and then retroactively I'll start to see where this is where the patterns. Okay, well then people were saying this part was too slow. Does that link up with the way people are feeling in this particular section? So it's a lot of like, I feel like it's a lot of just analyzing like notes. That was the biggest thing I learned, was just how to take feedback and how to process that feedback in a way that you can actually fix something. Yeah, because it's not black and white at all. I got so many notes that were like, oh, this part is too long, but what they meant was this other thing. Or like, I don't understand this scene. Okay, what they meant was this. Or here's a lot of it where I started to pick up that I needed to do more digging, was when people would say, oh, this scene doesn't work. And so I'd cut it out. And then people would be like, complain about something else that wasn't there before, because
you cut that scene out.
The scene that I cut out was solving that problem.
Totally.
And I didn't realize that. Like, oh, there's a reason why there's that scene that I cut out that people said wasn't important, because now it's triggering all these other problems.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like patching holes in a boat that's sinking.
Oh yeah. It's totally like that. It's like, all right, I'm cutting you go into the extreme. You know, I definitely went through a part after the distributors were like, just cut 15 minutes out of it, essentially. And I'm like, okay. And I went on like a chopping frenzy, basically, just chopped everything. And then then you get notes back and you're like, oh, whoops, I just caused these problems. You're like, okay, bring it back. Putting stuff back in here. And it's like, oh, that joke is no longer funny because it was that length of time that you had that made it funny. And so just go in and tweak and lengthen, delete, lengthen. It's a lot of trial and error after a certain process, I think it's like losing weight. Like the first part, when you first start, it comes off real easily, right? But it's the last 5 pounds that like you kind of have to like dial in, like, okay, is it like my diet, or is it like my sleep, or is it this, or is it like a combination of, yeah, for that last part to go away. It's absolutely, it was fascinating, very stressful and frustrating in the moment, but fascinating. So
Yeah.
I have to 10-1. So
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. We'll
Yes.
continue. Oh, you want to end this show?
well, no, we can keep going, but I have to 10-1. So BRB.
Yeah, no, go ahead. 10-1.
Okay.
BRB. No, but I wanted to say though, Zoe, like you're absolutely right with like when you receive those notes, instead of just like shooting straight for like the resentment of that person giving you the note, just see the problem for what it is instead of what the note actually says. You know, it's like you have to read in between the lines a little bit, and sometimes my contextual brain just doesn't put 2 and 2 together, and I see this and I'm like, oh, I hate this person for the rest of my life now. You know, I'm just like I'm like, but I don't like, I always want to approach it in a way that like, I'm like, listen, it's constructive. They're gonna, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just they'll throw out a solution because they don't want to be that person to not give you the solution, when really most problems are, you know, can be solved by the person who sees it as the problem. So they say, oh, well, here's your solution. This is what you're supposed to do, instead of like, because you know, and at least they know, they don't know how the process in the way you wrote that thing or you made that piece of art, you know, and not having that thought process, I feel like hinders the notes. Right? Because like you can't have a not have a biased opinion on a piece of work when you haven't, you didn't make it yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I totally hear what you're saying, and I also imagine that getting notes from people who aren't in the industry is also very helpful. It just,
right.
It's a balance, I imagine. Again, I've never had to act by like crowdsourcing direction, you know.
Yeah.
I've always, you know, that's just not how it's set up necessarily. So I wouldn't know, but it sounds right. Sounds right to me.
Right. But I mean, yeah, exactly. Like I still wholeheartedly think that like you're right. It all depends on who gives you those notes, and you have to ask the right people. Especially there's some people who are outside of the industry that are perfect to get notes from, but then equally they don't know the material that you're working with either. You know, especially like when I write, I don't like giving people, unless they're writers, unless they are like writers themselves, they can give me notes on the things that I'm writing. Getting it from a person who doesn't write is like, I don't even take those notes seriously when I probably should. And I feel like that's a weakness just for myself. But I think, yeah, wholeheartedly, like you kind of have to pick and choose who should give you the notes. You can't just take notes from anybody, because they're not going to understand you as much as you.
Yeah, well, it's a vulnerability thing too. Yeah, it's just like there are certain people that I will always ask for notes for, that I trust, and like, yeah, I don't know, that I think I do it in stages. Let's just say that I do the first stages with people that I really, really trust, right? And then second, that I divide that into like 2 or 3 stages. And then when I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, now I can trust this with people that don't know anything about films, but I also still trust their opinion. So I try that, right? And then Layla says hi. Love you too.
Layla.
Yes.
Shout out to Layla.
Yes. And then finally the very last stage is when I'm like, all right, let's open it to the world type thing. And to people who don't give a shit about me, who just want to, you know, just don't. and then see what people say, right? So I think it's different. It's because eventually that you have to, the public is going to see your work, you know, that's the hope, and you're going to be there. Then there is no then it's anybody's opinion goes, right? So I think I work myself to that point where it's like, all right, now I'm ready for what the person that has no connection to this film, that is not a filmmaker, who's going to be your audience, what they're going to say, and then see, did you fix all the things that were the problems before, you know, or not, or so
that makes sense. Yeah,
take it in stages.
You got to take everything in stages. So I agree. I think we're ready.
Topic.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, but
go ahead.
Just since Layla's in the chat, I was talking about her literally this morning about how at some point we were in the cabin on set for ERZULIE, and she slipped into an impersonation of another, not someone we know, but a famous actor, and it was just like, again, it was this like magical experience of getting to be around all these actors and being like, I won't ever be that. It's like getting to like see somebody else's magic power, and then it kind of like helps you define yourself of like, oh, that was incredible, and I don't understand how it happened, and I never. So then I'm like, oh well, what kind of actor am I? Because I'm not that kind of actor that like can do this like amazing chameleon thing, which she did as ERZULIE as well. But it was amazing to get to spend time with all of them.
Aww.
Yeah,
that's cool.
We always surround ourselves with talented ass people. That also goes for the crew as well. I've definitely worked in crews before that I'm like, how did you do that? You know, like other art directors
all
and
the
production
time.
designers. I'm
That's
like,
how I feel about art all the time.
Oh my god.
Yeah, when
it's
I'm
so great.
At like Reese making a bowl that lights up,
dude,
but not electrocute anybody, and it glows blue. I'm like, how did you think about that? Yeah.
I just put it's all a process elimination, you know. I just do it all together, and it just it works out somehow.
He's so funny. Oh, Reese. Yeah. But
I love that guy. All right. Well, we're ready to take this bad boy for a landing.
Yeah, I'm excited. Film's coming out in June.
Yay.
And we're going to, the events for Austin are going to be the first week of May. It'll be probably the first weekend of May. Hopefully you'll be able to.
Very exciting.
Kitty Cohen, I think is where we're going to have it.
Say that again.
Kitty Cohen. Have you been to Kitty Cohen?
Yes, fun.
Yes. Yeah, because it's got that pool area. I'm going to throw some mermaids back there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I gotta go. I have to lock that in at some point. But yeah, so that people know, we're going to have a bunch of limited exclusive events, that we're calling it, before the actual release in June. It'll go on video on demand, all over iTunes for sure, Amazon, that type of stuff. We're still in that process where we're finding a home for where it is, but it for sure is coming out in June. Leading up to that in May is going to be our events. So go on ERZULIEFilm.com to find out what that schedule looks like. But right now, tentatively, week 1 of May is Texas. Week 2 of May is Louisiana. Week 3 and 4 are California right now. So that's where our schedule looks like. And then July, Florida is kind of where right now. So as we pinpoint locations and places, the place that we're going to update, everything is going to be on ERZULIEFilm.com. So
find the party schedule there.
Yes, find the party schedule. It's gonna be a big party. The movie's just a bonus.
It's gonna be a giant party. I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm definitely gonna do my 100% best to make out to the Austin location. Oh, and hopefully the Louisiana. I would love to get a chance.
The Louisiana one's gonna be big. I have an event person, Stephen Knight, here that's going to. So there's this one location that's like on the water, that we're hoping people can like pull up boats and stuff like that to watch like a screen on the lawn. I think it'd be really cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. Can't wait to be. Yes, exactly. hopefully Layla, you can go to all the other stuff too. We'll
Yeah.
once I have the events and stuff, I'll shoot it out to everybody. So hopefully people can because we want you guys to be there.
It'll be great. I hope that it's a COVID willing situation so we can get some hugs and
Yeah.
stuff as well.
Yeah. Yes.
I hope so too. And also, ladies and gentlemen, on ERZULIEFilm.com, you can catch previous episodes of the entire season 3 of ERZULIE Film. You want to know the beginning stages of the writing process of Christine? Go back all the way to episode 1 of season 3.
You should. It's actually really funny, and
It's super great.
We're currently. I have a intern that's cutting little bits and pieces to show the emotional turmoil of ERZULIE. It's like, we are going to try to make this. We got this. We have money. We don't have money. We still have no money. Oh my God, we have no money. We have money. Oh God, we have to do all these things. Yes.
And Christine just passed out or doing work on her fucking keyboard while I'm doing a podcast and shit. The best. No, I miss those days because, those were the days where I, like we had this journey of, leading up to this, like with interviewing all the talent and stuff of ERZULIE. And it's been such an awesome thing, especially with last week with Layla. Shout out to her. And yeah, I mean, like to see this like almost ending is super fucking surreal. Like it, like
what do you mean? It's not ending. This is the beginning.
You said you wanted to end season 3 of ERZULIE for the podcast like months ago, and then you're like, "Hey, we're gonna interview talent, and we're gonna continue the season. By the way, we should start a new season." And I'm like, "Up is down and down is up with Christine. Unbelievable.
I know.
Things change.
I'm kidding. I love you, Christine. I love you." Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Get Reelisms podcast. Get on getreelisms.com. Pick up your book. What are you doing? I'm literally slinging these books all the time, and you guys are not paying attention. Get your poster too behind Christine. See that dope ass poster? $15 on the Get Reelisms website.
Yeah, it's got like different movie terms. Yes.
Yeah.
It's colorful. There's lots of words.
It's what I did during the pandemic. I started popping out products left and right because I was like, I got bored and started designing a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
And if you really want to get nasty with Get Reelisms, pick up a shirt as well and a book. Let's get it. GetReelisms.com, ladies and gentlemen. ERZULIEFilm.com for all the previous episode needs, and also the screenings of ERZULIE with a release predominantly in June.
Yes.
And
will come out soon as well.
That's it. Next week we're gonna have Diana on the podcast. It's gonna be so exciting.
Who plays Ari? It's gonna be awesome.
And Zoe, please come back to the podcast anytime. Anytime. You just hit us up.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
You're the new
this
co-host.
Is fun. It's fun because like I don't get to hear a lot of this stuff in the moment. None of us have time to process any of this, so it's like fun to hear like what you guys went through and what you guys still felt. So I'm excited for you to see the film. And
I'm so excited to see it, and thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Yay.
We love having you, and we want you to come back soon. That's it, Christine, unless you got something else.
Nope. ERZULIEFilm.com, everybody.
ERZULIEFilm.com. What are you doing? Get your life together. ERZULIEFilm.com.
Get it together.
Get it together. Instagram.
And keep going on ERZULIE Film on Instagram because we're about to do some cool stuff. Our makeup artist Roxy loves making drinks on her Instagram channel. The Fox,
TikTok.
or what? And TikTok and stuff. Well, she's about to make some drinks that represent each of the characters. Yes.
Roxy's a darn delight. So I'll be
So, and then there's going to be also an original drink for the ERZULIE experience. So, yes.
God, I want to try the Faye.
Yes, you should try.
I'm gonna have to be in touch.
Yeah. Well, I actually was gonna email everybody to be like, hey, is there specific alcohols that you guys like as your character and all this stuff? And then we're gonna incorporate it in. But she's gonna make these specific drinks and stuff. And then I thought it'd be really funny if like you guys tried to make your own drinks.
Totally.
So Yes, darlings. Yes.
That's it. That's it. That's it. We're done with the podcast.
Yes.
We're done.
I
Goodbye,
only have one
Instagram.
hand. My hand is, but
Tequila
We
for
love you.
ERZULIE. Tequila. All right, I'm putting that down.
There we
Tequila for
go.
ERZULIE. That's
Tequila.
right.
What would yours? Since I have you online, what do you think Faye would drink?
part of me, well, I don't know that they ever drank in the film.
This
And
is
part
true.
of me is like, they might be sober.
It might be something.
After some experiences with clearer liquors.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll think on it though. I'll think on it.
Okay. Tequila for ERZULIE. Boom.
That's right. I love how just like about 10 minutes ago, Christine said, I gotta take this for our landing. I gotta go back to Austin and finish packing. You gotta land this thing, dude. And that was 10 minutes ago while Christine's like, don't you ever drink?
My bad.
No, it's
All
okay.
right.
It's okay. Listen, this is a free podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We derail all the time because it's a free podcast available on Spotify now. This is the Get Reelisms podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. But we gotta go because someone has to pee really bad and someone has to leave Shreveport now.
Yeah, I'm driving a U-Haul to Austin, then collecting
Driving
more.
oh my god.
Ooh,
Best
Yeah.
of luck to you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I mean,
I hope I Tetris the shit out of everything and it seems
Hell yeah.
okay. We'll see what happens. So
your Tetris skills are on point, but are your janky U-Haul driving skills on point?
I don't
the
know.
question.
I did used to
I-
drive an ambulance, so
That's
I
true.
think it feels
That's
very
true.
powerful to drive a U-Haul. So I am
It
a
is.
little jealous. But
Unless like you're working with a janky ass U-Haul truck that like the steering wheel's stiff as shit and like you
Even
can't
then,
turn.
even then, it's like, get out
you
of
just
my way. I'm a
rolling with the
U-Haul.
homies with the furniture in the
Yeah.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
Enjoy it. I hope safe travels. Enjoy it.
thank
If you're in a
you.
U-Haul right now, enjoy it, ladies and gentlemen.
All listeners in U-Hauls.
Exactly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Instagram, thank you so much. Facebook, we're out of here. That's it. This
Bye.
is a free podcast.
Love
Free
you
podcast,
guys.
ladies and gentlemen, available on
Yes, we-
Spotify. Free.